Hello everyone, myself Shantanu Chaudhary from Vision Gate. So in the last lecture we have learned about kinetics, the force methods. So in this lecture we will learn about kinetics, the energy methods. So first of all the question arises, why do we need to learn energy methods? So the answer is very simple. So in mechanics, three different types of problems might arise. In the first type of problems, let's say, so we might have the force involved, the acceleration involved and the time involved. So if we have a force, acceleration and time involved in a particular problem, then we will use the force method. We will use the force method. So in a particular type of problem, if we have the force, acceleration and time involved, we will use the force method. So in the second class of problems, if we have a force, velocity and displacement involved, force, velocity and displacement involved, so we will use the energy methods. So in a particular mechanics problem, if we have the force, velocity and displacement involved, so we will use the energy methods. So there is another third type of problem. So if in a particular problem we have force, force, velocity and time involved. So you see, force, velocity and time involved, in such kind of problems we will use the momentum method. So in such kind of problems we will use the momentum methods. So in the last lecture we have seen most of the problems involved force, acceleration and time. So in those kind of problems we have solved using the force methods. So in today's lecture we will learn about, in a particular problem, if there is force, velocity and displacement involved, so we will use the energy methods, which we will learn today in the today's lecture. So if in another type of problem we have force, velocity and time involved, we will use the momentum methods. These momentum methods we will cover up in the next lectures. Okay. So in this aspect, let's see what do we understand by work done by a force. Okay. Today we will learn about the energy methods, wherein the problems we will involve force, velocity and displacements. Okay. So for this, the concept of work done is very important. So let's see what do we understand by work done. So let's see what do we understand by work done by a force. So let's consider a coordinate system. So this is one of our coordinate system. So let's say we have a particle like this initially. So these are the initial positions, x1, y1. Okay, this is the initial position of the particle with respect to this coordinate system. Okay, let's say this particle can move only along some path like this. This particle can only move along this path and it finally comes at this point. The coordinate of this point is x2, y2. Okay. So the particle was initially at this point and it finally came to this point. So let's mark this as A and this as B. Okay. So the particle initially was at point A and it finally came to point B. Okay. So let's say through this motion, through this system, we have applied a force in this direction. Let's say we have applied some force like this. Okay, so this is a force vector which can vary with time also, that is also okay. So we have applied a force in this particle so that this particle moves along this curved path and comes to this point B. Okay, so we have two components of this force involved. So the two components of the force involved will be, one will be along the path, and one will be perpendicular to the path. This force vector can be resolved into two components, one along the path, that is tangent to the path, and one normal to the path. Okay, so one normal to the path, this one F normal, and this is, let's say, Ft. So we have Ft and Fn. Okay, so let's say this angle is, let's say, some theta. Okay, initially. Fine. So the work done is a scalar quantity. So this quantity is a scalar quantity. This is a scalar quantity. Okay. So the work done by this force on this particle to move from A to point B is given as, so let's say F vector, or let's say the Ft times the small displacement that it will take place, let's say, which is ds. Okay. So work done is given as the tangential force. The work done is given as the tangential force, that is the force along the path applied to the particle times the displacement of the particle. Okay. So this is the small amount of work done. So let's say we have a particle like this. If we are applying a force like this and the particle is displaced in this direction, let's say, so the work done by this force is actually zero, because if a force is applied in this direction, the particle will not move in this direction under the application of this force. It can move in this direction by some other force, but not with this force. So the work done by this force, if a particle moves in this direction, is zero. Okay, so in this regard, so we need only the tangential component, which the component which is tangent to the path will only do a work done. Okay, so the total work done, from A to B, total work done by this force F vector from A to B is given as, we can integrate this. This can also be written as F vector dot dr vector. Okay, so this quantity ft multiplied with ds can be written as F vector dot product with dr vector. It is the differential of the position vector. Okay, so the total work done in moving from A to point B is given as line integral. This is a line integral from point A to B. Line integral from A to B, F vector dot dr vector. Okay, so this line integral from A to B, F vector dot dr vector. Okay, so this is our what we call as the work done by a particular force. Okay, this is what we understand by a work done by a particular force. Okay, so this is what we understand by work done by a particular force. So this F vector dot dr vector, this dot product has to be evaluated along this curved path. So this is a line integral. So how to evaluate line integrals? You please kindly check out the lectures of engineering mechanics. So vector calculus lectures of line integrals of Vision Gate. If you please kindly check out, these are available online. Please kindly check out those lectures, how to evaluate these line integrals. Okay. So we will use this concept. So line integral, so we have to integrate along this curved path to find out the total work done. So line integral from A to B, F vector dot dr vector gives us the work done by the particular force. Okay. So if F and dr, these two are along the same direction, so work done will be positive. Okay. So that means if a force vector and the force and displacement are in the same direction, we will say that the work done to be positive. Okay. So work done is positive if force and displacement in same direction. Okay, if force and displacement are in the same direction, then work done is positive, and the work done is negative if force and displacement are in opposite direction. Okay, if force and displacement are in opposite direction, we will say that the work done by the force is negative. Okay, so this is our basic definition of work done. So we will use this frequently in this lecture. Okay. So this integral need not be evaluated every time. We have some simpler cases. Let's see. So let's first see those simpler cases. So let's say we have a block like this. We have a block like this. We have a block like this. Okay, and we are applying a force. Let's say like this. Okay, F vector. Let's say this force is constant with respect to time. Okay, let's say this force vector is constant. Let's say this is given as 50 Newton. Let's say this force is given as 50 Newton. Okay. So this is one of the component and this is one of the component. Okay. So let's say this is our theta. So the force vector can be written as F cos theta I cap plus F sin theta j cap. Okay. So these are the components of the force vector. Okay, so these are the components of the force vector. The force vector can be written something like this. So this is equals to 50 cos theta I cap plus 50 sin theta j cap. Okay. So now let's say this block under the action of this force gets displaced by, let's say, ds. Let's say some s amount. So s is the displacement of this block from this point to this point. Okay. So the work done is given as integral f dot dr, right? Integral f dot dr. Okay, so while solving problems we need not evaluate this integral always. So what to do, we will see now. Okay, so this can be written as f cos theta I cap plus f sin theta j cap, right? This is the force vector. This is the force vector. dot this dr vector, the change in the position vector, this is given as nothing but ds I cap, right? So the particle is getting displaced only along this straight line, right? Only along this straight line. So this is ds I cap. There is no component in the y direction. So this is ds I cap. So if we evaluate this dot product, so you see f cos theta dot I cap, this component dotted with this, we can certainly write it as integral f cos theta ds I dot I is 1, and this component when dotted with this, so j dot I is 0. So this j dot I is 0. So this component will not contribute to any work done. So this integral f cos theta dot ds can be written as f cos theta times the displacement, right, which is nothing but the f cos theta. So f cos theta remains constant throughout this motion, throughout this system, throughout this motion of this object. This f cos theta remains constant, right? So this can come out of the integral. So we can write it as f cos theta times of s. Okay. So whenever we have a block acted upon by a certain force, we take the component of the force along the displacement. So the component of the force along the displacement multiplied with the displacement gives us the work done by the force. Okay. So this is what we call as the work done by a external force. Okay. Okay, so this is how we find out the work done. So what in a linear displacement, when the force is constant, the force along the direction of the displacement multiplied with the displacement gives us the work done. Okay, so now here you see work done is positive because force and displacement are in the same direction. That's why this work done is positive. Okay, instead if we have, let's say, the force acting in a different direction, let's say instead if we had the force acting in a different direction, let's say something like this. Okay, the same force acting something like this in this direction, so the component of this force along this displacement is this one. So this is the direction of the force along this horizontal direction. This is the component of the force. Okay, so in this case f cos theta will be minus I cap. So in this case the work done will be negative. Okay, that means the block has moved under the influence of this force, but in the force and the displacement are in the opposite direction. Okay, that means the work is not done by this force, instead the work is done upon this force. Okay, okay, so if the force and the displacement are in the opposite direction, we will have a minus. Okay, so if the force and the displacement are in the same direction, we will have a positive work done. Okay, fine. So now let's see some common types of work done by different types of forces which are commonly encountered. Okay, so the first one is the force due to gravity. So the first one is the work done due to a force due to gravity. Okay, so we will see gravity. Okay, so what is the work done by gravity force? Okay, so let's say there is a block. So the gravity force is always acting downwards, which is mg. Okay, which is mg. The gravity force is always acting downwards. So let's say we take a coordinate system like this. Okay, we take a coordinate system like this. So the initial coordinate is let's say x1 y1. Okay, the initial coordinate is let's say x1 comma y1. Okay, let's say this block is moved to this position. Okay, let's say this block is moved to this position. Okay, this coordinate is let's say x2 y2. Okay, this position is by some path like this. Okay, by some curved path, it is independent. Anyways, we will take some curved path. By some curved path, this block is moved from this point to this point. Okay, now we will try to find out what is the work done by the gravity. Okay, so we have work done as line integral 1 to 2 f vector dot dr. Okay, we will have this. So f is always mg. This f vector is always mg in the vertically downward direction, which is minus j cap, dot this object is moved, so we have dx I cap plus dy j cap, right? Okay, so using this dot product, we see that it is minus mg integral dy. Okay, from 1 to 2. So we see that minus mg y2 minus y1. Okay, minus mg y2 minus y1, that is the difference between the vertical coordinates, which is nothing but this y2 minus y1 is nothing but this. Y2 is this distance from the horizontal, y1 is this distance from the horizontal, so the difference between this is y2 minus y1, so this minus mg y2 minus y1. So we see that the work done by gravity is independent of any path traversed, right? The work done by gravity only depends on the difference between the final and the initial positions, right? So work done by gravity depends only on the difference between the final position and the initial position. Okay, so work done by gravity is equal to the minus mg times of difference between the final and the initial positions. Okay, so this is a very important conclusion. We see that the work done by gravity is independent of this path and it depends only on the initial and final vertical positions of the object. Okay, this is a very important conclusion, as we will see. Okay, so this is very commonly encountered in our problems. So let's see the next type of work done by a system. So work done by a different type of system is the spring force. Let's say work done by a spring. Let's erase this one. So this is important. So work done by gravity is this one is important. Work done by gravity is minus mg times of difference between the vertical distances. Okay, this is important. Okay, so let's see what is the work done by a spring force. So let's consider a linear spring. We will consider a linear spring. Let's say this is a linear spring. Okay, so if we apply some force on this point, let's say if we apply some force on this point, so the spring force will be acting in the backward direction, right? Okay, if we apply a force in this direction, so the force in the spring will be acting in this direction. This force is external, whereas in the spring the force will be acting in this direction, right? This is an external force, so in the spring the force will be acting in this direction. Okay, then this force is given as k times of x. This k is the spring constant times the extension in the spring. Okay, so this kx is the net force acting on the spring. Okay, so what is done is given as line integral 1 to 2, let's say x1 to x2. We are stretching this spring from x1 to some x2. Okay, so we have minus kx I cap dot dx I cap plus dy j cap. Okay, so by dotting this we see that we have minus kx dx. Okay, we have minus kx dx. Okay, so this k will be assumed mostly constant and we can take it out. So we have minus k x2 square by 2 minus x1 square by, so this is, we can write it as minus half k x2 square minus x1 square. Okay, here also we see that there is a minus. This implies that the spring force is always in the direction of the spring. Let's say if we apply a force like this, the force in the spring will be acting in this direction. Okay, so this is the significance of this minus. Okay, so now we will see, these are the different types of work done that by different commonly encountered systems we have seen. Okay, so now we will try to see what is the basic principle for solving problems. Okay, so the basic and most important theory for solving the problem is what we call as the work energy principle. Okay, so what we call as the work energy principle. Okay, so this is what we call as the work energy principle. So let's say before we see the principle, let's recall the Newton's law. So we have the net Newton's law as F is equals to ma, right? F is equals to ma, right? So this we can write it as m times of v dv by ds. This we can write down. So we have f ds is equals to mv dv, right? So if we integrate, we see that this quantity corresponds to the work done. We have just now seen. So this quantity corresponds to the work done. We have seen, and this quantity becomes half m v2 square minus v1 square, right? Half m v2 square minus v1 square, right? So this we can take it out in this direction. So we see half m v1 square plus the total work done by all forces. So the total work done by all forces, there are external forces which are displacing the particle. So this is nothing but work done by all forces. This is nothing but work done by all forces plus this is equals to half m v2 square, right? So this is what we call as the work energy principle. This is what we call as the work energy principle. That means the initial kinetic energy T, initial kinetic energy plus the work done by all external forces, is equal to the final kinetic energy of the system. Okay, so this is what we call as the work energy principle. Okay, so the work energy principle states that the initial kinetic energy plus the sum of all external work done is equal to the final kinetic energy of the system. Okay, so this is what we call as the work energy principle. Okay. Okay, so now let's see about what do we have here in this work done. So this work done, this is the work done by all external forces, right? So this work done can be written as work done due to conservative forces plus the work done due to non-conservative forces. Okay, the work done due to conservative forces plus the work done due to non-conservative forces. So there are two types of work done. One is due to the conservative forces and other is due to the non-conservative forces. Okay, so now let's see what do we understand by conservative forces. So by conservative forces, we have two types of conservative forces that we have. One is the gravity and another is the spring force. Okay, so work done by conservative forces we have just seen, gravity and spring. Okay, and spring. There are other types also like electrical field and others. This we will not pursue. So from gate point of view, electric field and magnetic field, these are not required. Only we will be frequently encountering these two, work done due to gravity and work done due to spring. Okay, so the work done due to gravity we have already seen. This is equal to the difference in the vertical distances times the weight, right? We have already seen the work done due to gravity, and we have also seen the work done due to spring, right? So if these two work done we are right, we have already seen we have minus mg delta y and we have minus half k x2 square minus x1 square, right? These things we have already seen. We can substitute it over here. Okay, we can substitute it over here. Okay, and this quantity we will keep it as it is. This quantity we will keep as it is. So we have total kinetic energy plus mgy1, or rather write it like this, minus mg y2 minus y1 minus half k x2 square minus x1 square, right, plus non-conservative. This is equals to the final kinetic energy, right? Okay, so from here we can see this T1 minus mg minus y1, right? So this will become plus mg y1 okay, minus mg y2 plus half k x1 square minus half k x2 square. This you can write down, plus W non-conservative. This non-conservative work means work done by all other external forces apart from gravity and spring. Okay, this WNC non-conservative will be work done by all other external forces. Okay, all other external forces. The gravity and spring we have already taken into account. Okay, this is equals to the final kinetic energy. Okay, so this we can write down. Like this: initial kinetic energy plus mg y1 half k x1 square plus W non-conservative. This is equals to T2 final kinetic energy plus mg y2 plus half k x2 square. okay, plus half k x2 square. So these two quantities only depends on the initial and final position, right? As you can see, these two quantities does not depend on the path, right? So conservative forces, work done by conservative forces does not depend on the path, okay? So does not depend on the integral of this curved path. It is not dependent on the integral, right? It is dependent only on the initial and final positions, right? So we see only on the initial and final positions. So these two quantities we will combine and we call it as the total potential energy of the system. So this quantity is called as the total potential energy of the system. Okay, this is called as the total potential energy of the system. Okay, this is, let's say, V2. Okay, so these two quantities we will call it as the total potential energy of the system. So the potential energy of the system depends only on the initial and final positions of the system. Okay, so this we can write it as, further write it as total kinetic energy plus total potential energy plus work done by all non-conservative forces is equal to final kinetic energy plus final potential energy. Okay, so this is our what we call as the work energy principle. Okay, this is what we call as our work energy principle in a generalized format. We have just separated out the work done due to conservative forces. Okay, we have just separated out the work done due to conservative forces. This work done due to conservative forces will be stored in the system in terms of potential energy. Okay, so this potential energy will be stored in the system in terms of potential energy. Okay, so the work done by conservative forces is always stored in the body in terms of potential energy. Okay, so now we will try to solve some problems using this concept, okay, that have appeared in GATE. Okay, so the first question is from this GATE 2011. Okay, so the first question is from GATE 2011. So we have a catapult. It is a catapult like this. We have a catapult like this. We have a catapult like this, and we have some rubber band. A rubber band is attached to the catapult like this. Okay, so we have a rubber band attached to the catapult like this. Okay, so this is our vertical and this is our x. This is our x coordinate. Okay, so that means this is a catapult. This is a catapult like this. This is a catapult like this. We have a rubber band and a particle associated with this. We have pulled the rubber band like this and stretched the catapult. It is held at rest like this. Okay, so this is the catapult. We have a particle attached and we have stretched the catapult like this and it is at rest now. Okay, so this rubber band exerts a force on the particle given as 300 x square. Okay, this is the force applied to the particle by these rubber bands of the catapult. Okay, so we are required to find out what is the work done by this force. Okay, what is the work done by this force we are required to find out. So this is the question. We are required to find out what is the work done by the force. The force exerted by the rubber band on the particle is 300 x square. Okay, we are required to find out the work done. Okay, so as we have learned, work done is given as integral f dot dr, right? Okay, so we have a displacement of this particle only along one direction, only along the x direction, and the force is also applied along this direction, right? So we have integral. Okay, so there are also few information given. So this is our coordinate 0. This is our coordinate 0, and the rubber band is stretched by 0.1 meter. Okay, so the rubber band is stretched by 0.1 meter. The rubber band is stretched by 0.1 meter. What is the work done we are required to find out. Okay, so this is our force 300 x square. Okay, times dx, right? 300 x square times dx. Okay, f dot dr, f is 300 x square I cap and dr is dx I cap, right? 300 x square dx. So we have okay, so the rubber band is stretched from 0 to 0.1 meter, 1 meter. So we have this. Okay, so we have 100 multiplied with 0.1 cube, so we get 0.1 joules as the answer. Okay, okay, so you see, to find out the work done, we always have to find out the integral. Okay, we always have to evaluate using this definition, this integral definition. Okay, if you directly multiply force with displacement, you will get a wrong answer. You see, directly multiply force 300x square into displacement x, so you get 300x cube, right? If you multiply force with the displacement, if you multiply force with displacement, 300x square multiplied with x, which is 300x cube. Now you substitute 0.1, you get a wrong answer. Okay, so force times displacement is only correct for a certain applications, right? We have seen already. So work done is equal to force times displacement only when the force and displacement are in the same direction and the body moves in a straight line. This is only valid, force times displacement is only valid when the force and displacement are in the same direction and force and displacement both are constant. Okay, that means a block subjected to some force like this and it moves by a certain straight line position to here. So if the force times displacement is correct in this scenario only, otherwise not. Okay, otherwise it is not correct. So work done has to be evaluated using this integral. Okay, so you will get this answer. Okay, by evaluating this integral. If you directly multiply with displacement, you see 300 into x, force times displacement, you don't get a correct answer. Why? Why do we don't get a correct answer? Because force is variable over here. So in this integral, force cannot be taken out directly. Okay, so here this force can be taken out. The force is constant and it is a straight line displacement. Force can be taken out from the integral and we have force times displacement is the work done. Okay, in this case this will not work out. So the basic definition is this. Okay, let's try to solve another problem. Okay, this is from GATE 2017. This is from GATE 2017. GATE 2017. Okay, so the question is the position of a particle is given in polar coordinates. Okay, so the position of a particle is given in polar coordinates in terms of r and theta. Okay, so r varies with time as t square and theta varies with time as t. Okay, so the position of a particle, the question is the position of a particle is given in polar coordinates in terms of r and theta. Okay, so the variation of r is given as like this with respect to time. The variation of theta with respect to time is given like this. Okay, okay, so after time t equal to 2 seconds, after time t equal to 2 seconds, we are required to find out what is the kinetic energy. Okay, what is the kinetic energy of the particle after time t equal to 2 seconds, we are required to find out. Okay, so let's first write down what happens. Let's see, this is our Cartesian system. This is our Cartesian system. So the position of a particle is given in terms of polar coordinates. So we cannot use Cartesian system now. So we have to use a polar coordinate system, right? So this is our, let's say, initial position. This is our initial position. Let's say this angle is theta. This angle is theta. Okay, and this direction is, let's say, ER. ER is the unit vector along the radial direction. Okay, so this will be, the position vector will be given as r times of ER, r times of unit vector along the ER direction. This is our position vector. If we differentiate, we will get the velocity, right? We will get the velocity. Okay, we will get the velocity. We have dr by dt. So here we need to use the multiplication rule, right? Plus r, right? So the differentiation of the unit vector we have already seen in kinematics. So we have r dot, dr by dt is r dot er plus r, der by dt is given as theta dot e theta, right? You can check out our kinematics lectures. In kinematics lectures we have discussed this, how der by dt becomes theta dot e theta. This we have discussed earlier. Okay, so we need r dot and we need theta dot, right, to find out the velocity. Okay, we need r dot. So r dot, differentiation of r dot, differentiation of r is 2t, right? Differentiation of r is 2t, and differentiation of theta is 1. You see, ddt of t is 1. Okay, so we have the magnitude of the velocity as r dot is twice t er plus t square, theta dot is 1. Okay, so this is the velocity vector. The magnitude of the velocity vector is under root 4t square plus t to the power 4, right? This is the magnitude of the velocity vector. Okay, so the kinetic energy is half mv square, right? Half mv square, and after time t equal to 2 seconds, we can substitute over here time t equal to 2 seconds. We get this. Under root 16 plus 16, right? So we get under root 32. Okay, so the magnitude of the velocity after time t equal to 2 seconds is under root 32. Okay, under root 32. Okay, so the kinetic energy is given as half m v square, right? So v square, this is v, so v square is root over of 32 square. Okay, mass of the particle is given as 1 in the question. Okay, mass is given as 1, so we have half 1 times root over of 32 square, it is 32, this is 60. Okay, so this is the answer to the problem. Okay, okay, so we will erase and look up to the next type of problem. Okay, so this is a question from GATE 2014. We have a question. So we have a question from GATE 2014. Okay, so this is an inclined plane. This is an inclined plane. We have a block of mass like this. Okay, we have a block of mass like this. So the block has a mass of 10 kg. This is 10 kg. Okay, we have a coefficient of friction here 0.5. Okay, so the kinetic coefficient of friction is given as 0.5. Okay, okay, so this angle is given as 45 degree. So this block slides down this inclined plane and comes to a certain position. Okay, this block slides down and comes to a certain position. At this position, the velocity of the block is given as 20 meters per second. Okay, this block slides down and comes to this position. Okay, at this position, the velocity of the block is given as 20 meters per second. Okay. Okay, so we are required to find out what is the total distance travelled by the block. We are required to find out. So this is a question from GATE 2014. Okay, initially the block is at a certain position, it slides down and attains a velocity of 20 meters per second. Okay, so what is the distance travelled by the block? This we are required to find out. Okay, so as we have learned our work energy principle today in today's lecture, so we can use work energy principle here in this problem. So the work energy principle states that total kinetic energy of the system plus the total potential energy of the system plus work done by all non-conservative forces, this is equal to total final kinetic energy of the system plus final potential energy of the system. This is our work energy principle we have seen earlier. Total kinetic energy, total potential energy due to all forces plus work done due to non-conservative forces equal to final kinetic energy plus final potential energy. Okay, so now let's identify each of the terms. So what we will do to identify this potential energy, we need the vertical displacements as we have seen earlier, right? Here we have potential energy only due to gravity. In this case, we do not have any spring, we do not have any other things. We have potential energy only due to gravity. So gravity potential energy is dependent on the initial and final positions of the vertical, right? Vertical initial and final positions. So let's say we take our coordinate system like this, okay? So in this position the vertical coordinate is 0, whereas in this position, the initial position, the vertical coordinate is, let's say, something, let's say h, right? So this h can be related to this displacement, right? So this d cos 45 degree will be h. So this d, this is the total displacement of this particle, right? The particle finally reaches this point. So at this point we have attached our coordinate system. So the total displacement of this particle, distance traveled, is d. So this d cos 45 degree gives our vertical height. Okay, so this is the initial potential energy stored in the body, right? So initial potential energy V1 is given as mg times of this h, right? Mg times of this h is the initial potential energy stored in the system. Fine. So final potential energy, finally it will come over here. So vertical height is 0, so the potential energy will be 0. Okay, okay, fine. Now what is the final kinetic energy? Final kinetic energy T2 half m this v square, right? This is the velocity of the block when it reaches this position. So this is half mv square. We can find it out. Initially the block is released from rest, right? Initially the block is released from rest. So this T1 will be equal to 0. T1 will be 0. Now we have what is the non-conservative force. We need to find out the work done due to non-conservative force. You see, so this block will be acted upon by the friction force in this direction, right? The friction force will be, the block is coming in this direction, the friction will be acting in the opposite direction like this. Okay, so the friction force is always opposite to the displacement, right? So this WNC has to be a negative work done. So the block slides down in this direction, the friction force acts in this direction, right? The displacement of the block is in this direction, friction is acting in this direction. Okay, so this WNC has to be negative. Okay, and since friction force remains constant throughout, okay, so the friction force times displacement will give us the frictional work. So let's see. So WNC, we have force due to friction times the displacement, right? In this case we can write it like this. This integral need not be evaluated. In this case friction force remains constant, so friction force multiplied with displacement gives us the work done due to friction. Okay, so what is the friction force? What is the friction force? We have mu k times the normal reaction, right? Mu k times the normal reaction multiplied with the displacement. Okay, multiplied with the displacement is the total work done due to friction. Now we need to find out what is this R. What is this normal reaction we are required to find out. Okay. So if you draw the free body diagram of this block, you see the free body diagram. Okay, the weight will be acting vertically downwards. Okay, the normal reaction will be given by this inclined plane perpendicular to the plane, right? So the perpendicular to the plane is like this, normal reaction. Okay, and we have a friction force acting like this. We have a friction force acting like this, right? So the component of mg is this and this. This is mg sin theta and this is mg cos theta, right? So in this direction we have equilibrium, so mg cos theta is equals to r, right? So we get r equals to mg cos theta. We have r equals to mg cos theta. This mg cos theta we will substitute over here to get the friction force. This minus, this is because friction force acts in this direction and the displacement is in this direction. Okay, that's why this minus. These are two, dot product gives a minus cos 180 degree. Dot product gives f dot d cos 180 degree. So cos 180 degree is minus. Okay. Okay. So we have minus mu k mg cos theta times d. Okay, so this is our non-conservative work done. Now we can substitute all these values in our work energy principle and find out what is the displacement, this d, right? This h in the potential energy we can write it as d cos 45 degree, right? This is also cos 45 degree. Okay, now we can substitute in the work energy principle. Okay, we can substitute in the work energy principle. If we substitute in the work energy principle, we have mgh, initial kinetic energy is 0, potential energy is mgh, which is d cos 45 degree minus mu k mg cos theta into d, work done due to non-conservative forces. This is equals to half m v square. Okay, half m v square. Okay, so from this we can solve this equation for d. D is the only unknown over here. We can solve this, so we can find out this d as 40 root 2. Okay, so this is equals to 56.6 meters. Okay, so this is the solution to our problem. Okay, this is the solution to our problem. Okay, so now we will try to solve one more problem. This problem is not from GATE, but how to apply work energy principle in a general type of problem we will see in the next problem. Okay, this problem is somewhat more complex. We will try to see what happens in the next problem. Okay, okay, so the next problem is this. Okay, we have a arrangement like this. This is a rod. This rod is fixed at both ends. Okay, this rod is fixed at both ends, and we have a block like this. We have a block like this at position A. Okay, we have a spring attached. We have a spring attached like this. Okay, we have a spring attached like this. Okay, okay, so the unstretched length of this spring is 1.5 meter. Okay, 1.5 meter is the unstretched length of the spring. Okay, so this distance is given as 2 meters. Okay, so this distance is given as 2 meters. Okay, okay, so an external force acts like this. An external force is acting like this of 50 Newton. A 50 Newton force is acting like this at an angle, let's say theta. Okay, so this theta is given as 30 degree. Okay, so this theta is given as 30 degree. This theta is given as 30 degree. Okay, there is no friction. There is no friction due to the application of this force. This 50 Newton force. This block will move upwards, right? So this block moves upwards. This block moves upwards and comes to this position. Okay, this is position B. Block moves upwards and comes to position B, and the spring becomes like this. Okay, so this vertical height is given. This vertical height is given. This vertical height is given as 1.5 meter. Okay, so this vertical height is given as 1.5 meter. Okay, so in this position, what is the velocity of this block? We are required to find out. We are required to find out the velocity at position B. Velocity of this block at position B. There are no frictions involved. Okay, so we have a system block resting like this. It is being acted upon by a 50 Newton force like this at an angle 30 degree with the vertical. A spring is there. Spring is there. A spring stiffness is given. Spring stiffness is given. It is given as 30 Newton per meter. Okay, spring stiffness is given as 30 Newton per meter. Okay, so the mass of the block is given as 2 kg. The mass of this block is given as 2 kg. Okay, so these are all the informations given in the question. We are required to find out what is the velocity attained by this block when it reaches position B. We are required to find this out. Okay, so we are required to solve this problem. So the basic principle for solving this is that the work energy principle which we will use. So the initial kinetic energy, work energy principle states initial kinetic energy plus initial potential energy plus sum of all external non-conservative forces, this is equals to final kinetic energy plus final potential energy. Okay, so this, from this equation we can solve this problem. Okay, so let's see. Now before we solve this problem, I would like to tell you something more. One of the concept, if there is no non-conservative forces involved, that means there is no external non-conservative forces involved, so that this term will be 0, so that this term quantity will be 0. In that case, we have the total mechanical energy, kinetic plus potential, is equal to the total final mechanical energy. This is what we call as the law of conservation of energy. Okay, so the law of conservation of energy is only valid when we don't have any dissipative forces. Okay, this is only a corollary of the work energy principle. If we do not have any external non-conservative forces, the total initial kinetic plus potential energy remains constant. Okay, this is what we call as the law of conservation of energy. Okay, here we have non-conservative forces. We have this external force, concentrated force acting. So this is a non-conservative force. Okay, so conservative forces will always be stored as potential energy. Okay, conservative forces will always be stored as potential energy. Okay, fine. So let's identify what are the different terms over here. Initially the block does not have any kinetic energy. Velocity is 0, so this is 0. Okay, we will attach a coordinate system at this point. At this point only. Okay, so the initial vertical coordinate is also 0. So V1 is a potential energy, right? This potential energy due to gravity, potential energy due to gravity is 0, but there is a potential energy due to spring, right? So the unstretched length of the spring is given as 1.5 meter, but it is initially at 2 meter. Okay, so it is the total length is here is 2 meter. Unstretched length of the spring is 1.5 meter. So there is a deflection of the spring of 0.5 meters, right? So we have a potential energy due to spring stored in the system. Potential energy due to spring, that is equals to half k x1 square, right? This is the initial potential energy due to spring. This potential energy is half 30 times of unstretched length is 1.5, it is 2, so 2 minus 1.5, it is 0.5, so this is 0.5 square. This quantity is equals to 3.75 joule. 3.75 joules. Okay, so this is the initial potential energy stored in the spring. Okay, so the work done due to non-conservative forces, is because of this force, right? Okay, this we will try to find out now. So let's say, so W non-conservative, right? This force 50 Newton remains constant throughout, right? This remains constant throughout like this. Okay, this remains constant throughout. Okay, so we have force 50 along the displacement, right? The component of the force along the displacement, it is 50 cos of this angle, right? Okay, times the displacement, vertical displacement is 1.5, right? This is 1.5, so multiplied with 1.5. Okay, and plus or minus, this should be plus because force is acting in the direction of the displacement, right? Force is acting in the direction of the displacement, so we have plus 50 cos theta 1.5, so this becomes 50 cos 30 degree is root 3 by 2 into 1.5. Okay, so this becomes 64.95. Okay, so this is the work done by non-conservative forces. This is the work done by the non-conservative force 50 Newton in moving this block from A to B. Okay, now let's identify the final stages. What are the different energies? At final stage, the kinetic energy is half mv square, right? Half mv square. This velocity is required to be found out. We need to find out this velocity. Okay, we need to find out this velocity Vb. We need to find out. Okay, potential energy. Now for potential energy in the final stage, we have two types of potential energy: the gravitational potential energy due to position and the spring potential energy, right? The spring is also further stretched. Okay, so the gravitational potential energy is mg types of this 1.5, right? This is the gravitational potential energy. Okay, so the spring potential energy is half k spring extension square, right? Spring extension. What is this spring extension? Let's see. See, we can use, this is a right angle triangle. This is a right angle triangle. Okay, from this right angle triangle, This hypotenuse gives the final length of the spring, right? This is the final length of the spring. So final length of the spring, right? So the final length of the spring is under root Pythagoras theorem 1.5 square plus 2 square, right? 1.5 square plus 2 square. This is the final length. Okay, so this becomes 2.5 meter. This becomes 2.5 meter. This becomes 2.5 meter. Okay, so this is the final length. Unstretched length is 1.5 meter, right? So the total deflection of the spring is final length minus initial length, right? So this is 1 meter is the deflection of the spring. So 1 meter we will substitute over here, half into 30 into 1 square. This is 15 joules. Okay, this is our 15 joules. This is so the total potential energy is this plus this plus this. Gravity plus spring is the total potential energy, right? Okay, now we have identified all the terms. We will substitute in the work energy principle and solve for the velocity. Okay, okay, so the initial kinetic energy is 0. Okay, initial potential energy is 3.75 due to spring. Okay, work done by non-conservative forces is 64.951. Okay, this is equals to half m v square plus potential energy due to gravity. M g we are taking as 10 times 1.5 is the vertical height, right? 1.5 is the vertical height. Potential energy due to gravity plus potential energy due to spring, right, which is 15. Okay, so now from this equation, if we solve for v, we get the velocity as 4.86 meter per second. Okay, so this is our solution to the problem. Okay, so this is a much more general problem that we have solved. This involved all types of kinetic and potential energies and also non-conservative forces. So this problem will give you an insight how to solve different types of problems. Okay, next we will continue with the kinetics, the energy methods for rigid bodies. Till now we have only covered up the energy methods for particles, right? We have considered only particles in this session. Now we will cover up the kinetics, where energy methods will be considered for rigid bodies. Okay, so we will consider rigid bodies now. Till now we have discussed only about particles. Now we will extend the same principles for rigid bodies. Okay, so rigid bodies. Okay, we will extend the same principles for the work energy principle. We will extend it for rigid bodies. Okay, so now let's see in this case. So a rigid body can have three types of motion, right? We have discussed earlier in kinematics. The first one is the translation. A rigid body can be in pure translation. The second type of motion is the rigid body in fixed point rotation, right? Fixed point rotation. And the third one is the general plane motion, right? GPM, general plane motion, right? So general plane motion consists of translation plus rotation, right? So we will see individually. Okay, so now you see the potential energy that we have discussed for particles. Now we will consider it for rigid bodies, right? The expression remains the same, but a rigid body like this, let's say this is a rigid body. Okay, so this rigid body will have infinite number of particles, right? Infinite number of particles. So the total mass of this rigid body can be assumed to be concentrated at one point. This is called as the center of mass, right? Okay, so while we write down the potential energy, we will write down the mass of the rigid body times the vertical height. Then vertical height we will consider for the center of mass. Okay, a rigid body might have a significant dimension. The potential, while writing the potential energy with respect to our datum, fixed datum, we will write it with respect to the center of mass. Okay, that means if we have a rigid body like this, let's say if we have this is our coordinate system. Okay, so this is let's say one rod. Let's say this is of length L. Okay, it has been moved like this vertically upward, or let's say it comes over here. This is the rod length L, this is the center of mass. Okay, so let's say this position is H. From this top to this bottom is, let's say, H. Okay, so the total potential energy change, this V, is given as mg, distance between the center of masses. This distance between the center of mass. Each and every point will have different locations, right? But we will consider only the center of mass difference. Okay, so this difference is L by 2 plus H, L by 2 plus H plus L by 2, right? So we have L by 2 plus H plus L by 2. Okay, minus, this is the final position, y2 minus y1, right? mg y2 minus y1, right? So this is the final position minus initial position. Okay, so this is the change in the potential energy. Okay, this is the change in the potential energy, mg L by 2 plus H. Okay, so this is the final change in the potential energy. Okay, so there is a mistake. So this final height is L by 2 plus H plus L, right? L by 2 plus H plus L, right? Not L by 2. Okay, so from this we get H plus L. H plus L is the L plus H is the total change in potential energy. Okay, this is the total change in potential energy. So there has been a mistake, I apologize. So it is from L by 2 plus H plus L by 2, which is L by H. Okay, this is the difference in the potential energy. Fine. This is how we write the potential energy. Now let's see how to write down the kinetic energy of the rigid body. This is an important aspect. We need to write down the kinetic energy. Okay, we need to write the kinetic energy. See, for three different types of problems, the kinetic energy will change accordingly. The potential energy we have already seen. The kinetic energy will change accordingly. Okay, so the kinetic energy for translation, let's say, if we have a rigid body, okay, this is our center of mass. Okay, we know from kinematics that each and every point, okay, in pure translation, each and every point will have the same linear velocity, right? If a rigid body is in translation, pure translation, each and every point of the rigid body will have same linear velocity, right? So we can write down the total kinetic energy of the rigid body is equals to half mass of the rigid body times velocity of the center of mass square. Okay, this is Vg is the velocity of the center of mass. Okay, velocity of the center of mass square. Okay, this is the kinetic energy of the rigid body. This is the kinetic energy of the rigid body in pure translation. Okay. Okay. Now let's consider pure fixed point rotation. Let's say we consider fixed point rotation. Okay, so a fixed point rotation. For a fixed point rotation, let's say we have a rigid body like this, and it is rotating about this point only. Let's say. Okay, so this is, let's say, this is hinged. This is point P. Okay, so the fixed point rotation kinetic energy, this kinetic energy for fixed point rotation of a rigid body is equals to half. Okay, I, this is the moment of inertia, okay, about this fixed point. Okay, moment of inertia about this fixed point or the hinged point. Okay, this is the fixed point rotation, right? The body will only rotate about this point, right? This is the fixed point rotation problem. In this case, kinetic energy of the rigid body is given as half moment of inertia about this fixed point. Okay, moment of inertia about this fixed point, not about g. Okay, moment of inertia about this fixed point times omega square. Okay, this is the angular velocity. Okay, moment of inertia about this fixed point times angular velocity square. This is the kinetic energy for a fixed point rotation problem. Okay, this is the kinetic energy for a fixed point rotation problem. Okay, we have now the third type of problem, which we call as the General plane motion, right? general plane motion. So in general plane motion, we have translation plus rotation, right? We have translation plus rotation. So the total kinetic energy is given as translatory kinetic energy, which is half m velocity of center of mass square, right? Now you see, in general plane motion, each and every point will have different velocities, right? We have seen in kinematics, each and every point will have different velocities, linear velocities. Each and every point of the rigid body will have different linear velocities. So which one to take? We will take half mass of the rigid body times velocity of center of mass square. Okay, we are not bothered about some other points. Okay, velocity of center of mass square is the translatory kinetic energy plus kinetic energy due to rotation. Kinetic energy due to rotation is half moment of inertia about center of mass. This moment of inertia about center of mass times omega square. Okay, this is the kinetic energy of the rigid body, okay, with respect for rotation, and this is the kinetic energy for translation. Together they give us the total kinetic energy of the rigid body, okay, in general plane motion. Okay, so you have to identify this velocity is the velocity of the center of mass, and this Ig is the moment of inertia evaluated with respect to the center of mass. Okay, this whole equation can sometimes be converted like this. This whole equation can be converted like this: half moment of inertia about the IC times omega equation. Okay, if we can for this rigid body, if we can find out the instantaneous center of velocity, if we can find out the instantaneous center of velocity, then the whole kinetic energy of this rigid body can be written as half moment of inertia evaluated with respect to the IC, not with respect to G. Okay, moment of inertia evaluated with respect to IC times omega square. Together these two can be combined to write it something like this. Okay, if we can find out the instantaneous center for a rigid body, then this together, this translation rotation can be combined and it can be written something like this. This is an alternate form of the kinetic energy. Okay, so we can use either this or this, any one of them we can use. Okay, so these are the three types of kinetic energy which we will use for a rigid body. Okay, now we will try to solve some problems that have appeared in GATE. Okay, so we will try to solve one problem from GATE. This is from GATE 2016. Okay, so this is from GATE 2016. So we have a drum. Okay, so we have a drum like this, cylindrical drum. Okay, it is hinged at this point center. It is hinged at the center point. So from this point we have a string attached and a block like this. Okay, so this mass of the block is given as 2000 kg. Okay, the mass of this block is given as 2000 kg. Okay, so this diameter of this drum is given as 2 meters. The diameter of this drum is given as 2 meters. Okay, so at this instant the velocity of this block, this velocity is given as 2 meters per second. Okay, okay, the velocity of this block is given as 2 meters per second. Okay, at this instant. Okay, now this block is descending downwards. Okay, and there is some brake applied to this drum. Okay, some brake is applied to this drum so that this block comes down over here. Okay, this comes down over here, and this distance is given as 0.5 meters. Okay, okay, so this block is descending down, and when it is descended by 0.5 meters, okay, this drum is completely at rest. This drum is rotating, and this drum is rotating like this. Okay, and this is lowering this block downwards. Okay, this block is being lowered downwards by this drum. Okay, so we are applying brake from this instant in such a way that when it descends down by 0.5 meters, the whole system stops. Okay, so what is the energy absorbed by the brake? We are required to find out. Okay, so we are required to find out what is the energy absorbed by the brake. Okay, the moment of inertia of this drum, this I naught, this moment of inertia, this is given as 150 kg meter square. Okay, 150 kg meter square. Okay, so this is given in the question. Okay, so we are required to find out what is the energy absorbed by the break. Okay, so again, as we know, so we can use, so what we will do is that we will take a coordinate system at this point. Okay, we'll take a coordinate system at this point. Okay, we'll take a coordinate system at this point. Okay, so from the work energy principle, we have the total kinetic energy plus the total potential energy plus work done by non-conservative forces is equals to final kinetic energy plus final potential energy, right? Okay, so now you see, initially when this block, this is the velocity of this block is 2 meters per second. So this point also has a velocity of 2 meters per second. So the angular rotation of this drum we can find out. So V is equals to this R times of omega. From this we can find out this omega of this drum, right? Angular rate of rotation of this drum, right? So this angular rate of rotation omega is P by R. So we have 2 radians per second. Okay, so 2 radians per second is the angular velocity of this drum, rotating drum at the present instant. Okay, fine. So now we have to find out what are the total kinetic energies involved. So we have the kinetic energy of this block, okay, due to translation. So kinetic energy of block is equals to half mv square, right? Also we have kinetic energy of the drum, right? This kinetic energy of rotation of the drum, right? We have half moment of inertia about O times omega square, right? Okay, so this is the moment of inertia of the kinetic energy of the drum. This is the kinetic energy of the block. Okay, so total kinetic energy is this one plus this one, block plus drum. Okay, fine. So we have initial potential energy. Initial potential energy, this V1 is given as, we have chosen it our datum over here, right? So the initial potential energy is mg into this 0.5. mg into 0.5 is the initial potential energy. mg into 0.5 is the initial potential energy, right? Okay. We are required to find out the work done due to non-conservative force only, which is the energy dissipated in friction. Whatever energy is dissipated by friction, this is because of the non-conservative work done. This we are required to find out. Okay. Finally, we don't have any energy of the system, which is zero. So the all of these energies has been dissipated in the frictional kinetic energy. Okay. We are required to find it out. Okay. So we have half mv square plus half I naught omega square plus mgh minus, since there is a dissipation, so the frictional work done is negative, this should be equal to 0. Okay, okay, so this frictional work done should be negative, so we are equal to find this E out. Okay, now we substitute half 2002 square plus half into 150 is given times of omega square, okay, plus 2000 g we will take it as 10. You can substitute by 9.8 also and you can check the answer. Here we will take it as 10 for simplicity into 0.5. Okay, this is equals to the energy dissipated. From this we can see that energy dissipated is 14300 joule. Okay, the answer is required in kilojoules, so we have 14.3 kilojoule. Okay, so this is our answer. Okay, so this solves our problem. We will try to see another problem now. Okay, okay, this is the question from GATE 2016. Okay, so we have a disc like this, and we have a circular curved track like this. Okay, so we have a circular curved track and we have a disc like this. Okay, so this center of mass and this is this. Okay, so the total this radius of this disc, okay, this height, this radius, this is given as 30.1 meter. Okay, this is given as 30.1 meter. Okay, this distance is given as 30.1 meter. Okay, 100 mm is the radius of this disc. Okay, so mass of the disc is 1 kg. Mass of the disc is 1 kg. So when it comes down to this point, what is the velocity of the disc? Okay, velocity of the center of mass of the disc we are required to find out. Okay, what is the velocity of the center of mass of the disc we are required to find out. Okay, so you see, we will take a coordinate system like this. Okay, we will take a coordinate system like this. Okay, so the initial height is mgh. Okay, the initial height is mgh. We will use the work energy principle. So initial height is mgh. Okay, initial height is mgh. We do not have any kinetic energy. Okay, so initial kinetic energy is 0. Okay, we do not have any external forces, so we are using the law of conservation of energy actually. Okay, so work energy principle will become law of conservation of energy. We do not have any external forces, so non-conservative work done is 0. This is equals to final kinetic energy is due to half m velocity of center of mass square plus this is, see, this will roll and come down, right? So this is a general plane motion. Translation plus half moment of inertia about center of mass omega square, right? Translation rotation. Okay, plus now you see, when this comes down, when this disc rotates and comes down, the center of mass still at this position, the center of mass is still at a distance equal to the radius of the disc, right? From this coordinate system, right? Center of mass still is at a height equal to the radius of the disc from this ground, right? The center of mass is still at a distance of radius of this disc from the ground, right? So we will have mg small r, right? Mg small r, right? So this we can take it out. So 30.1 minus 0.1, right? So 30 meters is the height difference. So we have mg times of 30 meters. This is equals to half. Mass is 1 kg. Velocity is required to be found out plus half moment of inertia about center of mass is mr square by 2, right? Moment of inertia of a disc about center of mass is mr square by 2 times omega square. Okay, okay. Okay, so from this mass gets cancelled, we have 300. This is equals to v square by 2 plus this r omega, right? This r omega is also equal to the velocity of the center of mass. We have seen in kinematics this r omega. This is equals to v square by 4, right? This 2 to 4, r omega becomes v. So we have this. From this we find out v square equals to 400. V equals to 20 meters per second. Okay, so this is the solution to our problem. Okay, so we will try to use a general work energy principle. Well, different types of forces and motions will be involved, and let's see how to solve rigid body problems in those systems. Okay, this was from GATE 2016. Now we will try to solve another problem. Okay, so we have a hinge like this. And the rod is attached like this. Okay, the rod is attached like this. Okay, the length of the rod is 600 mm. This length of the rod is 600 mm. Okay, mass is 15 kg. Okay, so the mass of the rod is 15 kg. Okay, so we have a spring over here. we have a spring over here. Okay, this spring is attached. So when this comes over here and strikes this spring, okay, so when it comes over here and strikes the spring gets compressed by a height of h. Okay, so this rod rotates and strikes this spring, and the spring compresses by h amount when the rod becomes horizontal. The rod is like this initially, it rotates and comes like this, hits the spring, compresses it by h amount and becomes horizontal. Okay, and in this situation the velocity of this rod is given. Okay, so the spring stiffness is given. Spring stiffness is given. So this is given as 20 kilonewton per meter. Okay, this is given as 20 kilonewton per meter. The spring stiffness is given. This distance is also given. This distance, this is 400 mm. Okay. The angular velocity of this rod, when this rod comes over here, hits this and compresses by h amount of the spring, the angular velocity at this instant is 4 radian per second. Okay, the angular velocity is 4 radians per second. Okay. Okay, so this question is very clear. We have a rod which is hinged at this point. Okay, so initially this length of the rod is 600 mm. This is 400 mm. This rod rotates. About this hinge and strikes this spring. Okay, and compresses this spring by h amount when it becomes horizontal. Okay, at this instant when the rod is horizontal, the angular velocity of the rod is given as 4 radians per second. Okay, spring stiffness is given, mass of the rod is given. Okay, we are required to find out what is the compression of the spring h. Okay, what is this compression h? We are required to find out. Okay, so we will again use the work energy principle. Okay, so instead whether it's better to say law of conservation of energy. We don't have any non-conservative forces, so we will use law of conservation of energy. So initial kinetic energy plus initial potential energy equals to final kinetic energy plus final potential energy. Okay, we don't have non-conservative forces. So initial kinetic energy is 0. This block is released from rest. Initial potential energy is mass times g. We will attach a frame like this. Okay, so the center of mass is at a height of 300 mm. So the potential energy stored is mg times h, and h is 300 mm. Okay, so v2. Okay, so v2. So when this rod becomes horizontal, v2 is 0. It has a kinetic energy T2. Okay, it has a kinetic energy. This v2 due to gravity is 0. Okay, this rod becomes horizontal, the potential energy due to gravity is 0. Okay, the potential energy due to spring is half, let's say this is d, k, h square, right? H is the compression in the spring. This much will be the energy potential energy stored in the spring. Okay, this will be the potential energy stored in the spring. Now what about T2? T2 is half moment of inertia about the hinge point, right? We have discussed fixed point rotation. We have discussed this rod is at a state of fixed point rotation, right? So the kinetic energy is half moment of inertia about this fixed point rotation times omega square, right? So what about this I naught? This I naught is m L square by 3, right? We know this I naught for a rod about hinge is ml square by 3, right? So ml square by 3 times omega square. Okay, we substitute in this equation to solve it. Okay, so we have 15 times g times of h is 0.3. This is equals to half k is 20 into 10 to the power 3 into h square plus half by 3 omega square, right? Okay, so we have this becomes (40) 45 equals to 10 to the power 4 h square plus m l square by 3 into 2 multiplied with half ml square by 3 times omega square, right? So 4 square. Okay, so from this if we solve for h square, we get h square equals to this 30.6 into 10 to the power minus 4. Okay, we get h square as this. So h is equals to, we get 0.0553 meters. So this is equals to 55.3 mm. Okay, so this is equals to 55.3 mm. Okay, so this is the solution to our problem. Okay, so we have covered up today the work energy principle for particles, and we have covered up the work energy principle for rigid bodies. We have seen how to apply this work energy principle for different types of motion of rigid bodies like translation, fixed point rotation and general plane motion. We have seen this, and we have applied these principles to solve certain problems which have appeared in GATE. Okay, so with this I would like to end today's lecture. In the next lecture we will see the momentum methods.